When you read the Bible, there are two major places you will see that life and death is regulated from. Number one is your tongue, and number two is your mind. It said life and death are in the power of the tongue. It said they that desire it shall eat of the fruit thereof. So if you talk death, you will have death. If you talk life, you will have life. And then in this context, Paul began to teach us. He said it's our mind that opens the gate for the law that takes dominion. He said to be carnally minded is death. He said but to be spiritually minded is life and peace. So the way to come out of the dominion of the law of sin and death is not to make resolution, is to start feeding your mind with things that energize life. So the reason you cannot be a prophet, the reason you cannot be an apostle, the reason you cannot be an ambassador is not because the territory is hard. It's because of what you are seeing and hearing. Now, God knows this. Angels know it. Devils know it. Only you don't. That's why the devil is sponsoring every day what you see. Today you open your notepad where you are supposed to be jotting and you see a naked picture pop up. Why? Because what you see is what you become. If you see nudity, if you see sin, if you see failure, it will energize the law of death. And when the law of death is energized, it will counter the law of the mind. If you see holiness, if you see power, if you see righteousness, it will energize the law of life. And the law of life will counter the law of sin and death. So your victory as an ambassador is not a hand laid on you. It's in your everyday routine. If your everyday routine does not support life, they can pour a drum of oil on you. You will still not represent Jesus. Because you represent Jesus by your mind. Whether you are carnally minded or spiritually minded. That's why when he was advising the church in Colossians 3 from verse 1, he said, if you say you are dead in Christ and your life is hid in God, he says, set your affection on the things that are above. If you want to be a hidden evangelist, better watch Miracle Crusades. Hear the gospel. You don't need anybody to pour oil on you. You will become an evangelist. You know why? The law of life will take you there. If you want to represent God in government, you must pay attention to what the Bible said about those who represent God in government. You need to find Nehemiah. You need to find Joseph. You need to find Esther. You need to find Daniel. You must meditate on what they've done until it becomes your mindset. If that happens, the law of life will take you there. But if you allow yourself to be schooled by the junk that is on TikTok, the junk that is on YouTube, the junk that is on Facebook, you will continue going back to pornography and continue going back to masturbation and continue going back. Because these things are not powerful in themselves. We feed them. None of this law is powerful. We feed them. If you feed the law of sin and death, the law of sin and death will become powerful and make you a captive. If you feed the law of life, the law of life will become powerful and liberate you. And so the devil knows. So the devil may not stop you from attending a conference, but he's waiting for you in your bedroom. He may not stop you from attending a revival meeting, but he's waiting for you on your job. Because he knows your job, you come 5 times a week. And so that 3 days you went to have in that revival, I can counter it in the next 5 days. And so the moment you return to work, you're glued to your phone and the devil begins to feed you. And you will vomit everything you ate in the revival meeting and eat another diet and go back to where you came from. And so the only reason you can become an ambassador is to master how to guard your mind. It says guard your heart with all diligence. It says out of it are the issues of life. The reason we have a generation that is hoping and desiring for revival to come and they will never see it is because they are fed to strengthen the law of sin and death. And the more you feed it, the more it keeps you in captivity. But the Bible said for those who understand how it works, it said they yield their minds to God. And as they yield themselves to God, it said the Spirit of God will mortify the deeds of the flesh. The resurrection power comes out of it. That is when your horn starts growing. If you know the capacity that you have, seated where you are, you will become afraid of yourself.